Good morning, students. So in this video, we'll see the program demonstration of exception handling in Java. So exception is nothing but the abnormal condition which occurs in a program during its execution. So this is nothing but it is a runtime error which occurs in a program. If we do not handle this exception in the program, then it may harm our system. So it may crash our system or it may damage some part of the system. So we need to handle this exception in the program. So to handle this exception in Java, we are basically using 5 keywords: try, catch, finally, throw, and throws keyword. So how we can make use of these keywords in the program, we'll see in this video by executing some of the programs on exception handling. So first, to handle this exception in a Java, we'll make use of 2 keywords. First one is a try and another is a catch. So try is a block in which we have to insert a statement which may cause the exception to occur in the program. Then to handle that exception, we need to include a catch statement in the program immediately after the try block. So this catch statement is going to catch the exception thrown by the try block. So these runtime errors are nothing but what? Suppose you are trying to divide an integer number by 0. In mathematics, you may represent that value as infinity, but in system, it's not possible to represent that value. So we say it is a one type of error, runtime error in the program. So another example you can take, suppose you have declared an array of a size 5, which will have the index from 0 to 4. And you try to access the index, suppose it's a 10, which is not available in your array, and you are trying to access that index. So at that time, the runtime error may occur in the program. So to handle or to catch these types of exceptions, already there is our exception class available, which are able to handle the all types of errors or exceptions thrown by the try block. So they have classified again arithmetic exception. So now this is exception which is able to handle the divide by 0 error. Then we have an array index out of bound exception. Suppose you try to access the index which is not available of the array, then it throws that type of exception. Then stack overflow exception. We have a null pointer exception. Then array store exception. Then file not found exception. Like that, so many others are there. So in this program, we have defined a class called as error1, which includes a main method, and we have declared 5 variables of type integer, where out of 5, 3 we have assigned values as 10, 5, 5 for A, B, C respectively, and x and 5 we have used to store the result of some of the operations which are performed on this A, B, C. Then we have included a try block, because I told that in the try block we should include such a statement because of which the exception may occur in a program. So here the statement is x is equal to A divided by B minus C. Now if you see here, the value of A is a 10 divided by B minus C, so it's a 5 minus 5, 0. So 10 divided by 0, you are not getting any fixed value or a particular value over here. So this throws the exception. So once the try block throws the exception, it is going to be catched by the catch block. And the syntax of the catch block is like this: catch, then you have to specify the type of the exception which is going to be thrown by the try block, then a E which is object of that type. And in this catch block, you can go for displaying any error message over here. Then the end of the catch block, then y is equal to a divided by b plus b. Another operation we have performed on these three variables. So it's a 10 divided by 5 plus 5. So again 10 divided by 10, which is nothing but a 1. So y value, it will show you as a 1. So this is now exactly the try and a catch block. We can use it in a program. So remember, this is whatever the system.out.println statement, this will not be printed, message is there. This will not be executed at all, because if the exception occurs at the first line of a try block, the control jumps immediately to the catch block and it never come back again to the try block. So it is followed by the further statements which are available in the program till the end. So now we'll see the execution of this. So the name of the program is error1. First compile it, error1.java. Once compiled, go for execution of the program by making use of a command java, then name of the program, that is error1 without an extension, press enter. Now if you see, so this statement x is equal to a divided by b minus c has thrown the exception which is going catched by this arithmetic exception, and it has displayed you a message division by 0. Then after that y is equal to a divided by b plus c, so 10 divided by 10, so value is a 1, so it has shown you the value of y as a 1. Remember, after the catch block, the control will never come back to this statement so as to display this. This will not be printed. If the exception do not occur at this line, then this line will be printed. Remember. And based on that, you will be able to get the output. Okay, now this is where we have used a try and a catch block. Now, there may be a situations where you need to include multiple number of exception instead of only one. You don't know what type of exception that statement which is included in a try block is going to be thrown. So for that, we can make use of multiple catch statements in a program. So now we will see how we can make use of this multiple catch statements in a program with this example. Now we have defined a class called as error2, and in this we have defined one array int a of single pair of a square bracket 5, 10. These are the elements which will be stored in an array at the index 0 and a 1. So now if you see, the size of the array is a 2 now. And another variable we have taken, int b is equal to 5. Then we have included a statement try int x is equal to a of 2 divided by b minus a of 1. Now if you see here, size of the array is a 2, the elements which are stored in an array at the index 0 and a 1, and here you are trying to access the index which is not available in that array, in which you have not stored any element in that, and you are trying to access that element. If that is the case, then it throws array index out of bound exception. Array index out of bound exception. So for that, what we have to do, we need to catch that exception. So for that, we have included number of exceptions by making use of multiple catch statements in the program. So the first catch statement is going to catch arithmetic exception, which is going to be displayed as division by 0. Second is the array index out of bound exception. The message which we have displayed is array index error. Third is the array store exception, where you are going to store the wrong type of the data into the array, which will throw you the array store exception. Then last one, whatever we have specified, it's a generic exception, means it is able to handle all type of exceptions. Remember, this generic exception catch statement has to be included at the last. It should not be at the first. If you put it at the first, it is going to show you some error that these already are going to be catched. Why do we need to include this? So it should be at the last, so that whatever the exception you have specified and whatever the statement you have included within a try, if it is going to throw other than these specified exception, then it is able to catch that exception. So that's why it's a generic exception. We need to include in the program. At the last, we have displayed end of main. Now, if you see, we'll compile this program. It's a error 2.java. If any errors are there, it will show the errors. If no errors, run it. That's array index error. As this is out of index, so it has catched by this catch statement, and based on that, it has shown you array index error. And after that, after all the catch statements, we have displayed a one more message end of main, that you are able to see it here. Now, suppose I bring this generic catch statement at the beginning itself, immediately after the try, then let's see what happens in the program. Compile it. Once, see, it has shown you 3 errors. What is that? Exception arithmetic has already been caught. Exception array index out of bound exception has already been caught. Exception array store exception has already been caught. So that's why they say is that whenever you'll be including generic catch statement should be at the last, which is not able to, so which is able to handle any type of exception which is not specified in the catch block. So this is what the working of multiple catch exceptions in the program. So now it is also possible to include a try block within another try block, which we call it as a nested try block. So now we'll see the demonstration of nested try block, how exactly it works. So for this, whatever the program we have written, this program requires the command line arguments to be passed to the program. Command line arguments are nothing but the arguments which are passed during the execution of a program. Now if you see here, so we have written a first try and we have counted the number of arguments which are passed during the execution. So those all arguments will be stored in this array, and length will give you the number of arguments passed. If the number of arguments passed are 0, then the value of a will be 0. The very next statement is int b is equal to 42 divided by a. A value is a 0, so 42 divided by 0. Here in this statement, it is going to throw the arithmetic type of exception, that is divide by 0 error. So which need to be catched. So for that, we have written a catch arithmetic exception divide by 0 along with the default message whatever we have set in the exception class. Next, so within this try, suppose the value of a is not equal to 0. Suppose I have passed any one argument during the execution, then the value of a will be 1. If that is a 1, 42 divided by 1, so you have displayed the value of a here. If the value of a is equal to 1, which is included in another try block, so that's why it's a nested try block demonstration, int c is equal to 1. Now if you see, you have created a one array and you have stored a one element in that, so based on that the size of the array will be 1, and you are trying to have access to 42 index of the C array, which is not at all available, and you do not have access to that part because the size of the array is a 1 in this case. So in that case, it is going to throw array index out of bound exception. So if the value of a is equal to 0, then it is going to throw array index out of bound exception, and based on that we have displayed a message. Suppose the value of a is a 0, this all are going to be skipped. It is going to throw the arithmetic type of exception, and based on that it shows the answer divided by 0 along with the message. So this is what the demonstration of a nested try block. Now we'll see the execution of this. Java C error 3.java. Error 3. Okay, now during the execution I did not pass any value, that's why the value of a becomes 0, and based on that it has thrown you the arithmetic type of exception and it has displayed you divided by 0 plus E. Now whatever this is there, this is nothing but this further part, java.lang.arithmetic exception divided by 0. So this is the message already been set for this E in the exception class, and that you will be able to see. Now once again I'll run the same program. Now here during the execution I will pass some value. Remember, you pass any type of a value. It may be either integer, floating point, double, boolean, anything. It is to be considered as a string, and based on that one argument value I have passed. So now here the value of a is a 1 and it has thrown you array index out of bound exception, and this is what a message it has displayed, java.lang.array index out of bound exception, index 42 out of bound for the length 1. So as the size of the array is a 1, you are trying to access 42th index, which is not possible. That's why it has shown you the error. Now suppose I pass 2 number of parameters. See, a is equal to 2. So both the types of exceptions have not occurred in the program, as the value of a is a 2, 42 divided by 8 performs, and if the value of a is equal to 1, it's not a 1, it's a 2 is equal to 1, it is going to check. So based on that, it has not shown or not thrown any type of an exception. So this is what the working of nested try block. Next, there is a one more keyword which we can use it in a program. It's a throw keyword. So which is used to throw the exception. So now we'll see the demonstration of that throw keyword. So for that we have defined a class called as a throw demo, which includes a one static method called as a demo process, in which we have included a try block, and in the try block we have used a keyword called as a throw. Throw new null pointer exception demo. So throw is a keyword which is used to throw the exception in the try block, and which will be catched later by the catch block. So as the try block has thrown the null pointer exception, we should have a catch block to catch that exception. So system.out.println caught inside demo process. Suppose you use a one more time the throw keyword inside a catch, then we call it is rethrowing the exception. Once already you have used in a try block, one more time you are using the same throw keyword in the catch block. So which we call it as a rethrowing an exception. Rethrow E, which is again going to caught it by this null pointer exception. Based on that, recaught message will be displayed to you. So this is the end of a demo procedure. Then write the main function. In the main function, we have to call this demo procedure inside a try block, because it will throw you an exception. So we need to include that within a try block, and immediately after the try we should have a catch block to catch that exception. So it's a null pointer exception. Now we'll run this program. It's a throw demo.java. Java throw demo. Okay, now see, caught inside demo proc. So when you call this demo proc, the control of the program will jump to the demo proc method where it has thrown the null pointer exception, which will be caught here. So caught inside demo proc will be the first line of the output. So you can see here caught inside demo proc. So after displaying that, once again you are going to throw the same exception. So which is going to be caught by this catch, that is null pointer exception, where it is going to display you recaught with the message java.lang.null pointer exception, and this is the value which we have passed during throwing an exception, that is this value it has displayed over here. Okay, next we go for another keyword which we can use. It's a throws keyword. So we'll see what exactly this throws keyword does. Now suppose your method is going to throw an exception, and for that you need not to have the try and a catch block multiple number of times, whatever just now you have seen in a previous example. That is, you wrote a demo proc procedure in which you have written the try, in which you have thrown the exception, then a catch, once again inside a main try and a catch. Instead of that, you can throw the exception by making use of a throws keyword at the beginning while defining the method. So it's a static void throw1 throws illegal access exception. So if more number of exceptions are thrown by that method, you can make use of a comma here. Illegal access exception, comma, arithmetic exception, comma, array out of bound exception, like that. So here inside throw1, then throw that illegal access exception. So as we are going to call this one, you need to include a try and a catch block. So here only inside a main method we have used try and a catch, not inside this method. But in the previous example, we used try and a catch block 2 times. So if you want to avoid that, you can make use of a throws keyword. Now we'll see the execution of this program. Throws demo.java. See it. Inside throw1, caught java.lang.illegal access exception and the name. So whatever you have displayed in this catch block, that message you will be able to see. So this is how you can make use of a throws keyword in the program. Now there is another keyword which we use in a program. It's a finally. So how we can make use of this finally block in a program, we'll see. See it here. So again we have defined a pi variable of type integer and 3 of which we have assigned the value as 10 pi for the variables a, b, c respectively, and these two variables we are using it to store the result. Then inside a try we have included a statement x is equal to a divided by b minus c, which is nothing but divided by 0 error. So for that we have included a arithmetic exception e, division by 0. Now after this, whatever you include inside this finally block, remember whether the exception occurs or do not occurs in the program, whatever you include inside a finally block is guaranteed to be executed by the compiler. So whatever you have included inside this finally is going to be executed, and based on that it will show you the output. But if suppose you do not include this try and a catch block and exception occurs in the program, and if you have not included a finally block, then there is no guarantee that whatever the further statements you have included in the program are going to be executed. So this is what the working of a finally block. error4.java. Error. Division by 0, y equal to 1. This is what a statement you have included within a finally block. So those are going to be guaranteed executed. So then coming to the last program of this concept, that is exception handling in Java, how to create your own exception. How to create your own exception. So these are already available exceptions we have used, that is arithmetic exception, array index out of bound exception, null pointer exception, illegal access exception, like that. If you want to create your own exception, then that is also available over here. What you have to do, you have to define a one class, give any name you want to give it to your exception. That should extend the exception class, which is available in this java.language package. Then include a parameters constructor, my exception string message. Then call the superclass constructor, because in this exception class already the single parameters constructor is included, for which we have given some default value. If you want to override the default value, you can make use of the super message. Then public static void main, x is equal to 0, y equal to 100. Now suppose I'll change the value of x as a 5. Then I'm trying to perform float z is equal to x divided by y. So value of x is a 5, 5 divided by 1000, it's a 0.005. So I'm going to check it over here. If the value of z is less than 0.005, which is not a case here, because 0.005 is greater than 0.001, then it is not going to throw this exception. Same way, throw new the type of exception which you have created by defining a class, then what the message you want to display to for that, then that exception should be the parameter to the catch. Got my exception, e.get message. So whatever this message you have given, that message you can display it here as a part of the output. In the finally block I have included I am always here. So this is a one way to create your own exception. Now what you can do, you can run this. Okay, you see here what it has shown you the result. I am always here. Why? Because whatever the condition we have specified within a try, it's not true. Because 0.05 is not less than 0.001. That's why it has not thrown you the exception. It has only shown you the statement which you have included inside a finally block, that is I am always here. Now what I do, I will change the value of a x from 5 to 0. Now 0 divided by 1000, you are getting the value as a 0. So 0 is less than 0.001. Yes, it is less. So in that case, it has to throw the exception, and the name of exception is a my exception. See it here. Now it has thrown you the exception, caught my exception. This is the first line in a catch statement. Then e.get message, what the message we have given, number is too small. So that it has shown you, and after that whatever you have included inside a finally block. I am always here. So this is what? To create your own exception. So these are the programs we include in our exception handling mechanism part. So this is what about today's video. So the further part we will see in the next video.